Hey everyone, Jason here. Today I am excited to have in my hands a copy of my LEGO Ideas Maze set. And today we're going to open it up, take a look at what's inside, build it, and see how it works. There's my ugly mug. You can read all about the designer, Jason Alleman, LEGO fan and designer of the LEGO Maze. Sweet. I have finished sorting through all the pieces and I'm not going to go through them all, but I'll go through the highlights. If you like tan tiles, you're going to love this set. There are 45 2x4 tan tiles. A good selection of tan and black 1x8 tiles. 24 1x3 tan tiles. These were pretty rare up until now. A good selection of other tiles. Technic bricks. Basic brick. Here's some 1x16 tan bricks. It always warms my heart to see 2x4s in a set. Random Technic pieces. Great ball contraption. Fans will be happy that the soccer ball mold is still in production. And some good detailing pieces for the secondary maze, I believe. And that's about it. Let's build this thing. Now that I have the frame and the standard maze built, let's see what this thing can do. We'll take a look at the frame first. And right now it's in the locked configuration so that you can't actually do any tilting. And this is achieved through this locking block in this corner here and the ball reservoir, which is in this corner here. And they basically fill up the entire space between the tilting frame and the base so that it can't actually tilt. So to take the ball reservoir out, you can just pull off this 2x2 corner brick and the ball reservoir slides out, and now the frame can tilt into that space. And if we go into the opposite corner and take the lock block off there, now we have full tilting capabilities. And when I rotate this right wheel here, it tilts the maze in this direction. And when I rotate this left wheel here, it tilts the maze in this direction. Now, one thing you will notice is that the tilting isn't even in each direction. For example, for the inner frame, I can tilt it a lot more in this direction than I can in this direction. And to a lesser extent, the same thing applies for the outer frame. I can tilt it more in this direction. Now, this actually isn't a big deal. As you will see, when you're actually running a ball through the maze, you're only ever doing very fine tilt adjustments to move the ball. Now, let's put the maze in and see how it all works. The maze fits snugly inside the inner frame. And you can just drop it in, and I find it helps just to gently push it in each corner just to make sure it's sitting nice and tightly. We'll get a ball from the ball reservoir and see what we can do. Put it in the start position. I also find it helps to keep the maze kind of oriented at a 45-degree angle. That way each hand can comfortably rest on each control wheel. And I also find my strategy is to kind of move between these safe areas, I call them. Whenever there's a corner formed by the walls, you can kind of just sit there until you move to the next area. Right, first try, yeah. So despite how easy that may have looked, this is actually a fairly challenging maze. I've spent hours and hours practicing on this thing, and it is very much a learned skill. The more you practice, the better you'll get at it. Now let's see what happens when we fall into a hole. Oh, there we go. Now we're stuck. We can't get anywhere. So if you find yourself always falling into the same hole, one thing you can do instead of recreating a new maze, which takes a bit of time, is you can just get some of the pieces, extra pieces from the set, and block that hole. And that way you can still practice getting to the end without that troublesome spot. And block as many holes as you need to, And then as you slowly practice more and improve your skill, you can unblock them until you can do the entire maze. So let's build the secondary maze. I find it easier to take the maze out when it's in its unlocked position. It's just easier to get your hands up underneath to push the maze out. Thankfully, they included a brick separator in this set, so taking all of the tiles off the maze is a lot easier. Now let's start rebuilding. This maze is a little more visually interesting than the standard maze. We have a medieval village here with some houses, some trees, a little outpost, watermill, and your castle. And your goal is to start in your home here and make your way to the castle. So let's see what we can do. The booklet includes step-by-step building instructions for the standard maze as well as the medieval maze, but it also includes some photos of additional mazes in the back, which I designed, and you can recreate these from these pictures pretty easily, but I will also be posting building instructions for them over at jkbrickworks.com, along with instructions for even more mazes that you can build. I have one of these mazes built here to show you. Most of these mazes I designed so that the difficulty can be varied by adding and removing these 1x2 log bricks. So right now it's in its easiest configuration with all of the log bricks present. And this maze is inspired by a racetrack. So it's got some big curves and a straightaway in the back here. Another big curve. And the start and the finish are actually connected, so you can just keep going around in circles to get some good practice in. And once you've mastered the easiest configuration, you can start removing some of these log bricks to make it a little more challenging. Here's another maze I designed, and this one actually doesn't have any holes for you to fall into. The goal of this maze is just to get to the finish as fast as possible. And it's just another way to play. There are some little corners to get stuck into that slow you down, and you want to learn how to go through the maze as efficient as possible. This is another great way to practice using the control system without the frustration of getting stuck in holes all the time. The only other thing I really wanted to show you guys is that because the ball is not a perfectly molded sphere, there are these little molding dimples on it that occasionally it'll come to rest right on one of those dimples and kind of get stuck. Now this actually happens very rarely if you keep the ball moving through the maze, but when it does happen, all you need to do is wiggle the control system a little bit to get it to fall over and keep rolling again. I'm really excited to see what kind of mazes you guys design, especially once you start adding pieces from your own collection. You can design some really cool themed mazes. I've done a few over the years, classic space themed maze and an underwater themed maze. I'll also be posting a couple videos over the next few weeks. One of them will be a comparison between the official set and my original model that I submitted to LEGO Ideas to show you all of the things that they changed. I'll also be posting a tutorial on an easy modification you can make if the imbalance in the tilting is something that you're concerned about. As always, thanks for watching, keep on building, and I will see you next time.